What's up, YouTube world? We're back here again. I love college football. I'm in love with college football. Week 2 was good stuff. Couple big games. A lot of people probably should have been beat, squeaked through. So, who knows? You know, those little things. Every team has a little bit of a hiccup here and there. So, you know, I don't know how much I'm gonna judge them on that, but. Let's get straight into the recap of what happened last week's action. Tennessee, Oklahoma, Vols. What happened, guys? You had it. You dropped it. You know? I even picked you guys being close. I even took the spread. You know? What happened? Man, Tennessee dropped it. Oklahoma took it. I know I picked Oklahoma to win anyways, but Tennessee, God, you almost had it, man. You almost had it, but you didn't. So, South Carolina, Kentucky. It's another one I took. Them Gamecocks. You guys, you said I know I'm an ACC guy. It's going to be a rough year for you guys. It's going to be a rough year. They got Georgia coming to town. Ooh, look out. Gamecocks might be in trouble this year. I believe them glory days are over. You guys in the Gamecock land were on that high horse, and not anymore. You back down to earth. I know the feeling. I know how that goes. To be very good and then go to not being relevant, pretty much. So, Kentucky over South Carolina last week, convincingly. Oregon, Michigan State. This was the only one I got wrong last week. Michigan State. Oh my. Here we go. Better watch out for them. Urban's circling that one in the calendar. That's going to be a game. Michigan State looks real good. And the Big Ten is impressive. Let's see. BYU, Boise State. I took BYU in this one also. BYU's no joke. I said that in week 1 that they were going to be good, and here they are. Now they're beating Boise State. They got a big game coming up this weekend, and that's really going to measure it. If they can come out with this one in week 3 coming up, it should be interesting. Got Mississippi State, LSU. Once again, I went with the Bayou Bengals on this one. I told you guys last year that LSU was going to be serious. They had a lot of young talent, and they put that on display. They looked good. LSU's got another big one this weekend. But they beat Mississippi State. And I'm going to say they beat them convincingly. It was a pretty... LSU might be an upset team in the West. I'm not going to take them to win it. But, you know, they're pretty good. Notre Dame, UVA. I tell you what, you Fighting Irish fans, you guys squeaked by that one. Squeaked by that one. UVA had you the whole game. I mean, you guys just did not look that good. Maybe UVA was pissed they got beat up on by UCLA the week prior. But you guys, your quarterback's done. Zaire's done for a while. They got the freshman backup coming in. They got a big game coming up this weekend too. I mean, you know, I blame it on the University of Virginia, you know, for scheduling these boys against some tough competition. I know Notre Dame's coming to the ACC. You know, they're in agreement to start playing. I think it's like 5 or 6 ACC games a year. So the people in the ACC better get ready for Notre Dame. But, you know, it was a close one, and Notre Dame squeaked it. And, of course, the biggest one everybody was talking about, Jacksonville State and Auburn. In Auburn. Pat Dye Field, and my personal opinion, Jacksonville State probably should have won the game, but taking a knee with 39 seconds to take it into overtime was probably one of the biggest bonehead freaking calls that a coach has ever made. You've been moving the ball all game. You got a kick out of bounds. You're starting at the 35. You really only got to go about 40-some yards, and then give it to your kicker and let him try to do it. But instead, you made a bad freaking decision, and Auburn. The second that he took a knee, I said it's over. Auburn's going to win it. I mean, you're going to take Auburn into overtime in Auburn and think that you're going to pull that upset? The hell no. Take the shock and awe, drive the ball down the field, and kick a field goal to win it. Dumbass. But Auburn pulled it out. So all in all, great week in college football. A lot of excitement, and that's some of the good stuff. I love seeing the big upsets, or at least close to the upsets like that. It's always good stuff. So love college football. Now every week I always talk about the best conferences and the teams in it, and who's standing up and making names and so on and so forth. And I know there's a lot of talk right now about the Big Ten being the powerhouse, with Michigan State and Ohio State, and how good Michigan State looked against Oregon. So are they above the SEC? Look. Let's not get beside ourselves, okay? The SEC is the best conference in college football. It has been, it will be for a very long time, because first off, it's the SEC. The teams that they have, the names, the traditions, everything else, the people that want to go play here want to go to these schools. And not to mention the South puts out some of the best players in football. And that's a given, especially Florida. Second off, who wants to go play in the snow in the winter when you can still play in the warm weather? So, but that's beside the point. The SEC is the best conference in football. You have, A&M's really good. Georgia's good. Alabama's really good. Auburn, granted, they about lost to Jacksonville State. I believe they were looking forward to this, week 3 coming up. Every team does it. Ole Miss is good. Mississippi State is good. Florida is not going to be a slouch team to sleep on right now. You can't even compare two good teams in the Big Ten to the two best teams in the SEC and then say, well, that's what we're going off of. As far as depth goes in a conference, the SEC is hands down the best conference in college football, and there's absolutely no question there. But the Big Ten is, they're number 2. I think they're better than the Pac-12. There's a lot of question marks in the Pac-12, and Michigan State just beat Oregon, so you have to put them there. And I said it last week. You have to put the Big Ten above the Pac-12 right now until something else happens. Ohio State is extremely good, and Michigan State showed that they're extremely good. So, it is what it is. So Big Ten at number 2, Pac-12 at a close 3. You still have. Oregon's still not a bad team, but they're not better than Michigan State. They still have USC, who is a good team, but we'll see how they fare when they start getting into it when they start getting into conference play, and they've got a big game this weekend. They still have Arizona State, who's also good. They just have talent. There's what's his name, Golf at California. You got to take him in FanDuel as a quarterback because the kid throws the ball 1,000 times a game. There's a lot of talent there, but they're not going to outdo the Big Ten. Number 4 is going to be the Big 12. Texas is awful. Besides Oklahoma and TCU, there's really not anything else there. A lot of people falling off as far as that conference goes, or rebuilding, maybe, whatever you want to say. But besides for those two, and then you had Tennessee beat them, which goes to show another mediocre team in the SEC. Almost beat Oklahoma, should have beat Oklahoma, but they didn't. But that's a mediocre team in the SEC hanging with the Big 12 big dogs. So that is where it is. And then of course the ACC's got to come in dead last. Florida State, they got, I guess you can call it a big game on Friday night. They played South Florida last week. They won big. They didn't look good early. Were they sleeping? Probably. Did you ever think that they were going to lose? Probably not. Clemson is the best team in the conference. There's no doubt there. I think that game, the Florida State-Clemson game, is going to be the big one. That's going to decide the conference winner right there. Maybe. Georgia Tech is not going to be slept on this year either. They got a big one this weekend too. Georgia Tech's really good. I'm going to change my statement. I'm going to say Georgia Tech's probably the second best team in the conference behind Clemson. Sorry. Florida State, you replace a lot of talent. It is what it is. But the ACC that's it. I mean, as much as I hate to say, the medium teams to the low teams in the ACC are not even on the same chart as medium teams in the Pac-12, the SEC, the Big Ten. We're just not there this year. So that's your conference wrap up. Now we'll get this out of the way real quick. Heisman watch, individuals put on best performances or whatever have you, whatever your voting goes off of. You have to keep certain individuals on a list. I mean, it's just the way there is. Trayvon Boykin, he didn't look real good in week one. He looked good last week, and I believe he just had to get those jitters off. Everybody has them. It happens. He's got to stay on the list. Cordell Jones from Ohio State, not a huge game. They haven't, besides for Virginia Tech, who's not a powerhouse or anything anymore, but he had a big game. He didn't have that great of a game last week, but he didn't have to, because when you're up 1,000-0 at halftime, who cares? But he's still arguably one of the best quarterbacks in college football as a sophomore right now. 99% of college teams right now would like to have him at quarterback. I mean, he's that good. Nick Chubb from Georgia. I mean, to step into the shoes of Todd Gurley last year and completely make the fans forget who Gurley was, well, he's at it again this year. And he's got South Carolina this weekend. He's liable to run on that defense for a long time. So, we'll see where that goes. And, of course, my number one right now has got to be Deshaun Watson. I mean, I know Clemson struggles here and there, but, I mean, he's good. And being in the ACC, the level of competition that you play isn't as high as the SEC. But when it boils down to style points and yards, Deshaun Watson is going to have that. As long as Clemson can keep doing what they're doing, you have to put Deshaun Watson at number one at the Heisman list. I mean, in my opinion, everybody's different, and I'm not a voter because I'm not fancy enough, I guess. I'd like to be, but I'm not. But, as far as style points and yards go, Deshaun Watson will be up there. It's another reason Jameis Winston won it his year that he did. Playing in the ACC, you just don't play that level of competition. So you look when you're a really good player, you look that much better. So that's your Heisman wrap. All right, on to week 3 this weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 days of good games. I'm ready, excited, love it. Kicking off Thursday, Clemson and Louisville. Now, Louisville they were supposed to be a sleeper, a possible contender in the ACC, and they've been, they got beat up by Auburn and then upset at home. Are they going to beat Clemson on Thursday? I don't think so. I mean, I don't see it happening. Deshaun Watson's really good. Clemson's just a talented football team all around. You have to take Clemson beaten up. Well, maybe not beaten up on, but they will win. I mean, come on, let's just seriously, honest talk. You really think that Louisville's going to beat Clemson? I don't. And if they do, it'll be an upset, and it's fun to watch. But I don't see it happening. Friday night, a lot of people are talking about this on the upset list. Florida State, Boston College. Boston College tends to creep up on people sometimes. Florida State, they're ready for this one. As a coach, he's ready. He's got his players ready. They know what Boston College is bringing to the table. Boston College is 2-0, but it's Florida State on a Friday night. I'm going to take Florida State all day. Now, my predictions haven't been off. I'm 10-2 this year on my predictions, so I'm not that far off. Another big game for the Big Ten. It's going to show the mediocre teams in the Big Ten and the ACC. Duke and Northwestern. Okay, Northwestern's back in the top 25. And David Cutcliffe and Duke, I mean, he's a good coach. I'm going to take Duke on this one. I think that it's going to make a statement for Duke itself, and I don't know if Northwestern is that good to be in the top 25. They're a good football team, top 25, maybe not. I'm not saying Duke needs to be in the top 25, but I am saying that they probably should. I'm taking Duke. I'm taking Duke over Northwestern. Big game. Georgia Tech, Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame losing its quarterback. Georgia Tech, I don't know if Notre Dame was just looking past Virginia last week. The freshman came in, won the game for them. I don't know. A lot of people are probably going to hate me for this. I'm going to take Notre Dame, I think. I know Georgia Tech looks really good, and they are one of the best teams in the ACC. I think Notre Dame's ready for them. I think that's where they were looking during the Virginia game, was just looking ahead. They're going to be dialed up for this one. Now, if they start having problems early with with Paul Johnson's offense, it might get ugly because Georgia Tech will put some points on you quick. And Georgia Tech also likes to score on turnovers, so if the freshman starts throwing picks, it's going to get bad. But I'm going to take Notre Dame. As much as I hate to do it, I'm going to go. I don't like picking Notre Dame, but I'm going to take Notre Dame. LSU, Auburn. Well, like I said about Notre Dame, I'm going to say it again about Auburn. I think Auburn was looking ahead with Jacksonville State last week, and I don't know how, because Auburn looked really good against Louisville, and they look like dog shit against Jacksonville State. So you have to think that they were just getting ready for LSU. LSU beat Mississippi State, and like I said, LSU is very, very young. I'm going to take LSU to beat Auburn. I believe it's in Baton Rouge in Death Valley. I like LSU to win this game. I think that their young talent is finally coming around, and they're going to be very scary throughout this year, on and off, and then very, very scary next year. Maybe a pick to win the SEC West next year. The talent's there. The coach is there. Can they get it together? And Les Miles has proven that he can do it. But Auburn's also a very talented team. LSU on that one. Rivalry, USC and Stanford. I know Stanford had a blip in week 1, and they came back and won last week. This is always, USC always tends to have trouble with Stanford for some reason. For whatever the reason may be, they always seem to have a problem with them. Are they this time? I'm going to take USC. I think that they're too deep, too talented, and Stanford has got a kink in the chain somewhere. They can't figure out why, what's going on. So I'm going to take USC over Stanford. And then the Brigham Young, BYU and UCLA. I've been talking about BYU since week 1. I don't think that they're going to beat UCLA. I think UCLA is too deep and they have too much talent. And they're a good team out of the Pac-12. So I'm going to take UCLA over BYU. I'm 10-2 from weeks 1 and 2. I've lost 2. I know I picked Michigan State last week, and I picked Washington in week 1, which was a terrible call. But I am 10-2. So those are the picks for week 3. Everybody have a wonderful, safe weekend and enjoy college football. I'll see you back here next week. Peace.